I get it, it's annoying. Bitcoin made a new all-time high only to fall back within its range and get rejected. However, I am seeing a lot of people getting extremely bearish here, calling for the cycle to be over. To be perfectly clear, I don't think that this is the case, and although Bitcoin can go lower in this range, we should be looking for opportunities. In today's video, I'll be going over the most recent Bitcoin price action, what I'm currently looking at to see whether or not I can start going long in this market. If you enjoyed the content, make sure to smash that like button and subscribe. Without further ado, let's jump right into the video. So first things first, Bitcoin's price action has been playing out to perfection. You can see that we got the wick, and because we got acceptance back below that previous all-time high, which was set back here in August of this year, then we ended up going a little bit lower. Then in yesterday's video, we talked about how if we start to close back above this very key level, which was the candle that brought us to a new all-time high, we would end up moving higher and likely make a new all-time high stemming from that candle. That being said though, while we wicked above it on the daily time frame, we ended up closing back below this candle, and today we ended up moving a little bit lower. Now at the time of recording this video, you can see that this candle is indeed getting bought up, so we'll have to see how it plays out, but ultimately I am not actually looking for longs right at this level because I am more of a swing trader and I look for better entries than what we're currently seeing right now. In terms of spot, don't stress in my opinion. Even if Bitcoin moves lower, yes, of course, altcoins would be suffering, but I still think that we end up moving up out of this range after we're done consolidating. So we got acceptance back in the range. How low could Bitcoin go? Look, in theory, Bitcoin can actually make its way all the way back down to the bottom of the range to sweep up some liquidity. I know some of you are actually calling for that. Me, I'm not that convinced. I need to see how the price action plays out before making that kind of call. If I were to look for a long, as I shared in yesterday's video, it would be testing the reaction right around this level. The range's value area high and the point of control, and perhaps we can even tap into this zone over here if we start losing this level, which puts us all the way down to $115,000. Now, am I calling for that necessarily? No, but you can see that we just keep on getting acceptance back into this range. And this is why I was also not that convinced that we would make a new aggressive all-time high. If you've been watching the channel, yes, we made some wicks, but acceptance back in the range is ultimately not what we want to see. Now, I don't want to come across as bearish because actually, as I read my timeline, everyone seems to be bearish here, calling for the cycle to be over. There's one thing that I'm extremely bullish on, and if you've been watching me, you know what that is. Bitcoin dominance. Whether Bitcoin explodes up from here or whether we go down, Bitcoin dominance seems to be increasing. And that is exactly why I have maintained my Bitcoin dominance long trade on Bluffin. This is one of the best ways to trade this market at this current point in time. We know that historically, October is pretty bullish for Bitcoin dominance. And so whether Bitcoin goes up or down, Bitcoin dominance is likely going to continue to increase. Now, I saw a comment in my last video asking me, why don't I just long Bitcoin? Why would I long Bitcoin dominance? The point is, Bitcoin can easily move lower from here and Bitcoin dominance would still be going up. Hence my Bitcoin dominance long. I am more comfortable in Bitcoin at this point in time. I know a lot of your favorite crypto influencers were screaming with confidence that at this break of the new all-time high, altcoin season will commence. This is clearly not the case. And with this rejection, what are we seeing now? Bitcoin dominance continuing to climb. Look, if you think I'm wrong, you can also short Bitcoin dominance if that's something that interests you. Remember, if you want to trade this, you have the second link in my description down below, bringing you directly to Bluffin. And if you're a pretty seasoned trader with a little bit more capital, you can get VIP access depending on how much you deposit and you start trading with. I know a lot of people are looking for a solid exchange with very low fees, and the higher your VIP status is here, the lower your fees can be. And so this is why I choose Bluffin, not only because I can trade Bitcoin dominance, but also because they do give me some reduced fees with my size. So pretty solid exchange if you ask me. Second link in my description down below. Most of my trades are executed on here. And also, if you do end up signing up, remember that you do have that first link in my description down below, which is essentially where I share my own personal trade setups. If you want to copy exactly what I'm doing in this market, or you just want to cross-reference with my analysis, make sure to click that first link. You DM me the word premium on Telegram, and I would be happy to onboard you into my free premium group. I have to be honest though, right now I've essentially just been sitting on my hands outside of this Bitcoin dominance long trade. I still think that Bitcoin does move higher from here. The top of the bull market cycle is not in. I'm holding my Bitcoin position strong, my spot Bitcoin that is, and I'm also holding my ETH. I am looking for better entries if I am to go aggressively long on a solid swing long setup. Now, I also wanted to show you the liquidation heat map because you can see here that there is some liquidity starting to get piled up to the upside. Is it possible that we go up, sweep that, and then come back down? Yes, of course, there's always a possibility. However, if you go on the 1 week time frame, you can see that there is still a decent amount of leverage to be grabbed below the current levels, which is actually where I would start to consider going long. Haven't executed anything quite yet. Now, this paints an interesting picture. We talked about this as Bitcoin was making a new all-time high. There were way more longs in the market, way more cumulative long liquidation leverage that is. However, when Bitcoin made that new all-time high, we ended up continuing to increase, grabbing all of that short liquidity, and then on this small move down, you can see that things are starting to balance out. Right now, for the Bitcoin exchange liquidation map on the 1 day time frame, there are more shorts in this market. On the 7 day time frame, you can see that it is relatively even here, and on the 30-day time frame, there are still significantly more longs in the market. And so I do think that everyone that is max short will eventually get wrecked if they don't end up taking some profits on the way down. But for now, the momentum does appear to be a little bit more down than up after cooling off, making that all-time high wick. So I still think that there is some liquidity to be grabbed to the downside before we go ahead and move higher. And as Bitcoin continues to chop around here, the IRS is to furlough nearly 50% of its staff as part of ongoing government shutdown. This is quite interesting. Now, I also wanted to bring this to your attention, which was the general bearishness on the timeline that I've been seeing. Notice the consensus and how everyone seems to ignore the possibility that the top is in. We will see very soon. Remember the trigger. Then we also have this guy. I'm officially done being a bull. Maybe I'm dumb, but I don't think Q4 is going to be bullish anymore. This comes after just a small correction from around 126.2K down to where we are now, right around 122.8K. Seriously, guys, we have some more of this. Check this out. People are posting the types of reversals. I mean, this you have to kind of agree with. This is starting to look relatively similar to this kind of reversal over here, where maybe we do find acceptance lower within this range. However, this guy, Bitcoin all-time high breakout rallies that started with a daily, weekly SFP, 0. Maybe this time is different. That's the thing. This is typically not an excellent sign when we get that SFP and we fall back within the range, which is why I'm calling for a little bit of lower levels. However, I do not think that the bull market is over. I need to make myself extremely clear. I know there's some of you that watch me for trading. Some of you watch me from a spot positioning. From a spot positioning, I've made myself extremely clear. I have not rotated into altcoins because Bitcoin still gives me the best risk-adjusted returns, even at this point in the market cycle. And you can see that this continues to hold true because of Bitcoin dominance continuing to increase. I mean, imagine being able to trade this metric. Absolutely phenomenal by Bluff, and I have to give them a huge shout out for this. And as we wrap up this very quick video, because not much has changed, Bitcoin ETF inflows, you can see that it is starting to slow down, around 400 million yesterday, which is still pretty significant. I mean, $500 million worth of inflows, but mainly coming from IBIT, BlackRock's ETF. And Ethereum is really slowing down here because we saw some offloading by Fidelity, but BlackRock also just continues to accumulate with 69 million total net inflows for the Ethereum spot ETFs. So what do I think is next here? I know a lot of you are hoping that I can just say, guys, I'm going long, this is the time. But to be honest, when we get a sweep like this, it isn't the best thing ever. Now, weekly time frame. This is something you need to pay attention to. Don't miss the forest for the trees, as I always say. This was a very bullish weekly candle last week. And so just because we get a little bit of a correction, it doesn't mean that it's all over. Ultimately, I would like to see Bitcoin retest lower levels before I consider going long, but at this point in time, it's okay to just sit on your hands. I'm seeing a lot of people getting wrecked with altcoins because everyone is saying, hey, altcoin season starts now. Guys, altcoin season does not start now. If you want to see altcoin season right now, Unfortunately, I have to tell you that that would mean that the cycle is officially over. The reason I say this is because altcoin season comes when Bitcoin ends up distributing. And so if Bitcoin gets even more acceptance within this range, and what happens is we end up just chopping around like this for the next little while before we head into a bear market, this would actually create altcoin season, which is not what I'm hoping for. If you're new to the channel, my base case is that eventually, should we retest lower levels here, Bitcoin will make a successful breakout. We will find our way maybe between 130 to 150. No, I am not calling for 200K Bitcoin. And we will start distributing around here. This is where I want to see altcoins really thrive. But until then, whether Bitcoin goes up out to a new all-time high or breaks lower, in my humble opinion, Bitcoin dominance will likely continue to increase. And again, that's why I'm still in this trade and I plan on holding it for quite some time. Now, I also wanted to give you an update on the total crypto market cap, excluding Bitcoin, which we covered. We had a bullish close, and now you can see that we're getting acceptance back within the same range. We are almost there. We will break out at some point, but you just need to have a little bit of patience. Don't let any crypto influencers FOMO you into trades that you're not prepared to take and you're not prepared to understand the downside. And that sums up today's quick video. From a spot positioning, have not touched any of my crypto portfolio. However, from a trading perspective, I'm still waiting to see if I can get better entries for a nice Bitcoin long. People are starting to pile into shorts. However, on the 30-day time frame, it still paints a very clear picture that Bitcoin can go ahead and move lower, which would be completely healthy, and then we can go ahead and break to a new confirmed all-time high, not just wicks this time around. If you enjoy the content, make sure to smash that like button and subscribe, and I'll see you in tomorrow's video.